Hello, in this video we are going to go over Zremesh. So Zremesh is a good way to retopo your geometry, and I believe I made a video that goes over it, just like a basic way of applying it. But I'll show you the reason why we need to use it, and you'll see here there's a bunch of triangles. It's too dense and it's not really flowing with the geometry in general. So this is something that you don't want to have in your while you're rendering, or even trying to UV this would be a pain in the butt. So I'm going to turn off the Dynamesh, and then I'm going to turn off my polyframe, then go over to Zremesh. And a lot of times what I would suggest is set the target amount to same, and then go to Zremesh and just try that out and see what you get. And I'm looking for things like, am I losing detail? Like I'm losing kind of detail here, but now you see the geometry is flowing around a little bit better. It's a bit better, but I have something weird going on right there. So you might want to try different things. So maybe let's turn that back off, and let's try another way. So that's looking a bit better. But you're also getting weird stuff like that. There's like a pinching. You might get stuff that's like wherever there's like thin geometry might be a problem, but it's not actually too bad. So that's not too bad. If you are losing detail that you want, you can use polypainting, which is a way to paint in Zbrush to say you want more areas of detail and less areas of detail and all that kind of stuff. And that is under here. So you can hold down Control and go over it, and you'll see that pure red is a higher polygon density, pure blue is a lower polygon density, and no paint gives Zremesher a total control over the polygons count. So let's try that. So if I go over to Subtool and then go over here, this little paintbrush, click on that, and now I can go over and start painting in areas. So I'll undo my Zremesh from before, go to Polypaint, so click on that brush, then I'm going to go to a red, pure red, can I go down here, and then I am going to start painting in these areas. You have to change your brush to a paint brush. So if you press P, it's that one. And you can say, oh, I know that this area I want to be pretty dense because there's a lot of detail, that kind of thing. I know I'll need some detail here to retain that kind of stuff. I know I'll need detail here, detail here. I don't lose those little bumps, and maybe some details back here, that kind of thing. And then maybe I want details like right there. Kind of the areas that are most important generally might be a good idea. So like the facial, the front of the place where you're gonna see it most, basically. So I'll just do this kind of thing, and I'll do that. So that's gonna be, these places are gonna be the highest density areas. Okay, so now I can use the blue can start painting the areas that don't need to be super dense. So I can do like something like this. Up here doesn't really need to be very dense. This is a pretty simple shape. Kind of thing. And then everything else I can just leave up to, actually inside of here I don't really need to be very dense. Maybe inside the mouth right there doesn't need to be super dense. Oop, but it's painting the bottom of that, so I don't want to do that. Okay, so that's fine. So now I can go back to my Zremesher here, and if I press that, you'll see there's a color density 2. This is like a multiplier, so if you want the paint to affect it more, then you would just bring that number down. If you want less, bring it down. So I'm gonna hit Zremesher, and then we can look at that. Okay, so now let's look at this. And you'll see it's a lot more dense in these areas. And then when I look at the areas that are up here, they're a lot bigger faces. Yeah, so you can kind of see that the benefit of that if you have high detail areas. I'm not going to use that for now. I'm going to show you another method. I guess I could just turn off, use Polypaint, and then turn off the paint, and bring that to white so my model's white. So the next thing that you can do with Zremesh is you can create, like if you want a specific topology, or at least guided topology, you can use Zremesh guide. So say I want concentric circles going around the eye, which you usually do if you're doing an animated character. You'll have concentric circles around the eye. So I'm just gonna draw this all the way around like that, and it kind of does it in the mirror too. And then you can do things like this. I think I can connect it so you don't have to make a perfect line at first. The size of your brush makes the links either smaller or bigger. So I'll have that, and I want it to do concentric here. Oops. You also have to be careful. So if the smaller my brush, the more fine control I'll have and what that curve looks like. But you see that it's a little tricky sometimes. Okay, so now I want to do concentric. I want to do a circle or an outline of this. So something like that, and then yeah, I think that makes sense. And then in here, like this. So you want the geometry to flow with the shape of your model. In general, that's what you want to do, so that UVing and texturing and how it's shaded kind of works. Works with your shape. So something like that might work. We'll see. And then do something like this. They don't have to be completely connected either. It'll just find this curve and be like, okay, you want some kind of curve that follows through. Okay, something like that. And then this section. Kind of overlaps, so I didn't want to do that. Okay. Oops. I'll do one right here. Okay. I'm just checking to see if there's any other things that might be useful to outline. So maybe this. Okay, so now we can use this to help the Zremesh. So geometry. And then depth, creases, freeze, adaptive curve strength. So right here, if I hover over that curve strength slider, used to collaborate with the guides. So a lower number will have more effect, the guides will have more effect, or the lower number will have less effect, higher number will have a higher effect. As a general rule, the higher you set the slider, the fewer curves you should draw. Okay, so let's try it out and see what it looks like. Okay, and then let's look at the polyframe. And that should have helped with the flow of it. Like these polygons are now flowing through there. Yeah. Yeah, and that looks pretty good. And then I can even do half if I wanted to go to a lower poly. But I probably should have done that with my guide. So I can do half, reduce it, and look like something like this. You can smooth out those areas that are a little too pinchy. Alright, so I would do that for all these pieces. Let's do this. Zremesh. Maybe do half then. Half. Half. There we go. Now I have my skull. I'll see you in the next one.